Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new build in my series building Nancy Drew in The Sims 4. Today I am bringing you Zeke's Curio Shop from Nancy Drew Legend of the Crystal Skull. I just recently built Mary Yazi's shop from Secret of Shadow Ranch, and I mentioned in that I was thinking about building some of the other types of retail stores in that video, and several of you in the comments were like, yes, we need a Zeke's Curio Shop build. So here it is. Here is Zeke's Curio Shop. My voice is a little wavery today. It might be a little grovelly at times. I have actually been quite sick for the past week, so I might be speaking a little quieter or a little less animated than I usually do because I'm trying to make myself not cough. It's been basically a chest cold, and I've taken the appropriate tests, you all know what I mean, and I'm thankfully negative on those. But the chest cold experience is still not fun. I've been kind of laid out for about a week. It's really frustrating. But I think I am finally starting to be on the mend. I think I'll be able to get back to normal life pretty soon. I'm kind of the person who, when I get sick, it's really hard for me to slow down at first. Like, it takes me a lot of talk, and I really have to work with myself to be like, okay, it's okay to not be productive. It's okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to take time off work. You are sick, you need to heal, it'll be better for you and everyone else if you do these things. So I finally got to that point, but once I get to that point, it is then very hard for me to get back into everyday life. So it's almost like the law of an object at rest stays at rest and an object in motion stays in motion, because I have a really hard time transitioning into rest and out of rest. So that's where I'm at right now, is trying to figure out if I'm well enough to transition out of rest and get back into the work swing or not. Who knows? But regardless, here we are making Zeke's Curio Shop, and you just saw kind of the majority of the outside there. I used my walkthrough of Legend of the Crystal Skull as inspiration. I tried to kind of replicate it as much as I could. But there were some things that, you know, to make it look better in The Sims, I decided to kind of make some executive decisions. Like, I decided to make the windows a little bit nicer, and I still went with the red color because we have red in the game itself. So we're using red, and then we're using the doors and windows from Strangerville, which I actually basically purchased purely for the build and buy items, because Strangerville came with some really fantastic Victorian items, including these doors and windows, and I have never actually played through the Strangerville mystery all the way through. I've watched other YouTubers play it, but I purchased the pack primarily for the build and buy items. I will definitely get around to playing the Strangerville mystery at some point. I am curious to give it a go, especially now that it's been some time since I've watched other YouTubers play it. But yes, the windows alone make it worth it for me. The windows and the doors. I mean, they're just so pretty, and I do really often build traditional homes, so it's nice to have some like perfect Victorian windows for it. So as far as decorating and furnishing this place, my goal was clutter every possible space as much as I could, and when possible, clutter the spaces with items from the Paranormal Stuff Pack and from the Realm of Magic game pack. So basically this Curio Shop, I actually did place it in Glimmerbrook as well, which is the world that came with Realm of Magic. Basically, this Curio Shop could function as a really nice shop for your spellcaster sims, because there are a lot of items in here that they might need, including ingredients for potions themselves, there's a wand, there's just all sorts of just very strange things. There's also a bunch of paranormal items, so if you have a sim who's a paranormal investigator, they could come in here and get the candles that they need and get their crystal ball and all sorts of stuff like that. I just thought it fit the vibe of Zeke's Curio shop really nicely to have all sorts of these magical and occult type items. And I think they all ultimately worked really well together. I'm really happy with how the space turned out. I made it smaller and I changed the floor plan ever so slightly from what the game gives us, and the color scheme as well. When you walk into the shop in the game, then we have this whole, it's like this greenish blue lighting experience, and I really wanted to make that come through in the wood tones of the walls and the floor. So I used the Spooky Day walls and floor, both in this kind of greenish blue color. And eventually, before I take you through the tour all the way through, I do change the lighting in here also to be pretty green. So it gives the whole place kind of this surreal, almost like underwater, under muggy water kind of feel, which I really like. I think it really gets the idea across that this is Zeke's Curio shop, even though the items that you can buy in this Sims version of the Curio shop are not the same, and we can't get the same level of disheveled that Zeke manages in the game, because honestly, or not Zeke, I suppose Lamont, he just keeps it named Zeke's because he promised the person that he purchased it from. But we cannot match the level of disheveled that it comes with that game, because really, The Sims, even when you clutter things up, it still looks very neat. Because everything, there's nothing like tipped over, there's very few things that are messy. So even when you have a super cluttered space, it does still look quite clean overall, but I do think we get the idea across. And this is a retail store in The Sims. I uploaded it to the gallery as a retail store, so you could have a Sim in your neighborhood purchase the store, and then they could put all of these items for sale, so your Sims could actually come into the store and actually sell all these things. So yeah. And then adding in a few details that we don't necessarily see in the game, but I think that make the space look better as a Sims build, things like rugs and whatnot. And then I did also want to decorate these shelves on the back with as many items as possible that Nancy interacts with during the puzzle. The big puzzle where she has to move everything around on the shelves so that they basically create a complicated machine that will then allow her to distract Lamont. So I included like the doll, for example, to kind of represent the hula doll that we get from, it's originally from Creature of Kapu Cave, but then it's in this mystery as well. The bowling ball trophy is supposed to represent the bowling ball that we actually see in the game. The skulls are supposed to represent the I don't even know what they're called, the little voodoo heads, those kinds of things, the severed heads. And then the My Sims trophies are again kind of supposed to represent the doll. There is the music player, the projector music record player whatnot thing that's supposed to represent the record player, and then just a bunch of extra clutter items and little like random curio things in addition to the books that fall over. I just thought all of those things, one, seemed to make a lot of sense in a curio shop, and two, would look really nice in kind of conveying the Legend of the Crystal Skull game itself. So yeah. I do also really like how this counter space turned out. Again, this does not necessarily look like an exact replica of the counter where Lamont stands, because behind him he has a much more cluttered kind of shelving and storage space, and I decided instead to put most of the shelving and storage in the back room, and that's the room where Nancy goes to find the picture that she needs to find, or that Nancy says best to go snoop reluctantly to find in the back room. And I put this little kind of narrow corridor here to connect the bathroom space and the back room as well. So the bathroom space should be functional. It should be accessible to patrons of the store, assuming that they can go through the beaded wall hanging, which I really like for a curio shop. I think that really gets the idea across very nicely. But yes, there is a functional bathroom, and then the back room space is supposed to be kind of just a cluttered, crazy little mess. And you'll notice that there's a bunch of places around the shop that are just kind of filled in with black walls and black floors, just kind of empty space. And those are there because I wanted the building to like actually feel like a building. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I didn't have the energy, since I am still recovering from being sick, to fill in all of that empty space. I wanted the outside to look complete from the front and from the sides, but I did not have the energy to go through and fill that in with things that weren't Nancy Drew replicas. Basically, in my head, I'm imagining there could be a building behind this that we would then assume would be where Bess would go for like the Jean Lafitte kind of situation where she has to say the password and she gets caught and whatnot. I imagine that there's a building behind this. The building to the side, I imagine, would kind of be like a nice little cafe. In a perfect world, this could be the retail store, and then to the right, there could be a nice little restaurant that sells like Cajun food, basically, like you can get at the food truck that normally sits outside of this build. Which I could probably have put something like that. Like, we do have a bunch of food stalls in the game. It wouldn't have fit in the front of the build just because of how close it is to the front of the lot. I could change that around, so that's an idea as well. If you wanted to toy around with this build and kind of make it your own, those are definitely some ideas that I had. Nice little Cajun restaurant, or it could be a cafe over to the side. Add a food stall that kind of mimics the food truck that we get in the game. And then in the back, I sort of imagined that there would be a apartment where Lamont himself would live, kind of like a little owner's suite space where he would go when the day is done and not have to go to a separate home. But we are nearing the end of the build here. I do hope that you enjoyed it. I'm going to take you on a live tour of the build itself. I'm going to bring a sim to this lot, and we're going to kind of walk around this together. So I will see you there. All right, fellow detectives, and here we are at the completed Zeke's Curio shop. It does look a little bit different during the day and during a sunny day at that, so it's kind of nice to get a different view of Zeke's Curio shop. But this is what we have going on. Another little storefront to the side, and then the seating area where Dr. Gilbert Buford would sit during the game. And then when we wander inside, we have this small but packed space. So despite this being a small space, there are a lot of items in here, all sorts of different curio items. We have potions to purchase, we have books to peruse, we have all sorts of spooky things to look at, bottles with all sorts of voodoo powders in them, the giant statue that we see in the game, you know, frogs and will-o'-the-wisps and crystals and all sorts of crazy things. I tried to use as many paranormal items as possible and as many Realm of Magic items as possible to really get across the idea that this is a creepy place. So if we go into the back, if we walk around the counter here into the back area, we go into this little corridor, and then on the left is a bathroom space for the patrons to use if needed. And then on the right is the workroom. So this has a bunch of storage and then a lot of the items that are currently being authenticated by Zeke or whoever is lucky enough to own this place. So that is Zeke's Curio Shop. I do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, or hit the notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.